So you've just gotten Star Citizen and had your fill of soaking in the sights, but now you want to make a little bit of money on the side so that you can do what you want. Hey guys, I'm Morphologist, and in this video, I'm going to be your guide through how to make money in Star Citizen. I'll take you through the job manager and how exactly to track a job. I'll give you some brief descriptions of what each job is, and then I'll show you a few examples. Finally, I'll also tell you how what you do determines how you're viewed in the verse and what contracts will be available to your character. So make sure you stay tuned until the end to find out about that, and if you have any additional questions, head on over to my Twitch channel where you can ask me questions live. So for those of you who are returning and may not know, Star Citizen has added persistence between patches since 3.8, meaning all the money you save up and the ships you purchase along with their modules stays in your inventory, at least for the foreseeable future. So now more than ever, people are heading over to Astro Armada or the New Deal to purchase a new ship in-game with in-game credits. And this isn't really that difficult. For example, with a Prospector, you could earn up enough money to buy a Hawk in a day. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. You're new to the game and you want to know how to make money, so let's hit F1 to open our Mobiglass, and let's go down to the Contracts Manager. Before we go into them in detail, let's first get the 30,000 foot view of all of these contracts. First, we have delivery. These are the delivery of physicalized boxes from location to location. Just below that, you'll find the service beacons. These could be NPCs or players in need of combat assistance. You'll have to save them before they explode to get your money. Following that is investigation. These can vary quite widely, but generally you'll find a missing client missions, and those will lead you to caves, which you can also mine in. Next, we have maintenance, which is the collection of bio-waste and disposal. Following that, we've got Bounty Hunter, which is my favorite tab. We'll go into that in greater detail later. And then finally, we have the Mercenary tab, which involves a variety of space and ground combat missions. Some things not appearing on the list though are races, which have been removed as of 3.9 temporarily to try to fix them, and something that doesn't always appear, and that's ECN alerts. These are triggered by real players who are trying to shut down comrays, which is how our crimes are recorded in the verse. If one of these goes down and somebody kills somebody within the range of one of these comrays, it's not recorded as a crime, so you can probably guess these are prime targets for criminals to shut off. As a newer player, I generally recommend that you avoid these missions, so if you are really good at FPS combat, you could give it a go. Now after the General tab, we have the Personal tab. This is where missions are being sent to you directly, and these will pay a lot better generally than the ones in the General tab. However, these are usually either gray or black market contracts, meaning if you do them, there's a good chance that you have to do something bad, and if you get caught, well, we'll go into the consequences a little bit later. From time to time, you'll also find in here some hero missions, which are named NPCs that have their own set of animations and theme parks with missions for you to complete. They can be a lot of fun to do, but of course they range from gray to black market, so you want to be careful who you make friends with in the verse. Accepting missions is pretty straightforward. You go to the mission that you want and you accept the offer. Now if they disappear before you hit it, it's probably because another player took it. These are active and everybody can see them. Now once you accept it, it'll be in your accepted tab and you'll be able to do a number of things. You can either untrack it, track it, abandon it, and that means give up on it, or share it. If you've got a party with multiple people, you can share it and those profits will be split evenly for how many people are in your group. Some missions will prefer that you have more than one person, but I've been able to complete most of them by myself. Unfortunately though, as of right now, you can only track one mission at a time, so if I select a second mission, it may set that as track instead of the first one, so I'll have to go back to the one that I'm currently working on and track that to figure out where I need to go. Now once you track it, you'll notice that it appears on your HUD, but this doesn't really help you get there if you want to complete the mission. So to set a waypoint to your mission's objective, you go back into your Mobiglass and hit your Skyline app. This is basically your world map of the entire Stanton system, and in the future, whatever system that you're in. Click the crosshair to recenter your map on yourself if it's bugged out a little bit, and then use the mouse wheel to zoom all the way out. You should see your objective on the map as a glowing diamond. To navigate to that objective, you're going to want to double click on it and hit set route. It won't work unless I'm in a ship though, so remember to do this step once you get into the ship of your choice to get to your objective. It basically works like a GPS system that will guide you via some on-screen UI to that objective location. If you discover that that location is too far and it appears as red when you click on it, that means that you need to stop at some location in between to refuel your ship. This is going to be especially true if you're in a starter ship, so you may need to stop here like at Her L5, which is one of the Lagrange points and way stations above the verse. No matter what you do though, you should always accept a call to arms mission in the Mercenary tab in your General tab. This is always going to give you some money for killing pirates that you'll run into inevitably about the verse. This also includes player pirates if they happen to not, say for example, have a bounty on their head that you can see. But that's a basic overview of the missions. Now let's go into some more detail as well as my own personal recommendations for a new player. Let's start off in the non-combat category and we'll move on to combat afterward. So if you guys remember, back when I made a starter video, I recommended that you guys pick up a mining tool as well as a backpack when starting off in Star Citizen to start earning your first few bucks. That recommendation hasn't really changed. I think it's a great way to get out into the verse and explore and earn a few bucks while you do it. You'll need the Grey Cat multi-tool like shown here, as well as the Orbit mining bit attachment that you'll have to put onto it. These can be found at all 3 major landing zones at a place like Cubby Blast or Tammany and Sons. It depends on where you spawn, but there will be a location that has it. If you can afford it, the environmental suit you see here has a much larger inventory than the original backpack shown in that starter guide. It'll be featured down in the description below should you need to refresh your memory. These missions are linked to the investigation tab when you investigate a missing body. That's going to bring you to one of these caves here shown on the screen, where I suggest you bring a mining tool and a backpack to pick up some mineable rocks to make a few extra dollars aside from the $4,000 for finding the client. And even if you don't find the client, which sometimes you might not be able to because cave systems can be hard to navigate, you'll still be able to come back with a profit. It's also a great opportunity to try out hand mining, which is a fun mechanic in Star Citizen and one that you'll be able to make a lot of money in once you upgrade to a prospector down the line. Now there's no real trick to hand mining. Once you get it in the green, it'll pop and you'll get some rocks out of it you can throw in your backpack, but if you overheat it, it might kill you or you might just destroy the entire load, so be careful when you do so. Finding the body for this mission, I suggest, isn't also that hard in my opinion. You just need to head down deep enough into the cave and you'll find something that looks like this. Luckily, the caves are pretty linear, so as long as you remember where you've come from, you should be able to get back, no problem. Once you're done, you want to head back to one of the landing zones to Planetary Services, where you'll find a trading console that you can select your backpack in and sell from. It'll be called Personal Inventory, and you should make a nice hefty sum if you were efficient with your time before and after finding the body. Here, I wasn't too efficient, so I only made about 10k, which is okay. 14k total in the past 45 minutes isn't too bad, but you can make about 30 to 40 if you're really good. An alternative to doing mining missions and finding clients is the box delivery mission, which is also non-combat based. Now, keep in mind that there's always the possibility you'll be attacked by a player or an NPC pirate, but so long as you run away, you'll be fine if you really don't want to fight. These missions I find to be a great way to familiarize yourself with the verse and get used to the different landing zones around Stanton system. It also gets you more familiar with flying your ship, and well, it's actually a really great way to explore and kind of a way to just relax if you don't want to have an intense experience. You'll be tasked with going to a planetary landing zone to pick up a package from one of the kiosks like you see here. You'll pick up the box physically and put it into your ship. Some ships don't have the ability to store boxes though, so you want to make sure that you're bringing the right thing. If you've got a starter ship, make sure you bring your Aurora or your Loner Freelancer. There'll be different loaners depending on when you're watching this video, but you'll at least always have access to one where you can put a box on. CIG has made sure to make this the case. Believe it or not, box missions can actually be one of the most profitable things to do starting off in Star Citizen, because you can chain a bunch of them together. I've heard people getting as much as 50 to 60,000 AUEC in less than an hour by chaining a bunch of boxes from the same origin point to the same destination. The problem, of course, is that some people won't find this enjoyable, some people don't like delivering packages, but personally, just sometimes, I like to do a few myself. There's also something very immersive about the experience, but who knows, maybe I'm weird. If you want something a little easier but still has the chance of some space combat, then Escort Missions might be for you. These missions involve escorting an NPC to a destination. You'll go there, escort them to point B, and then collect your money. These missions have a chance to spawn enemy pirates, which you'll have to defeat and protect the target from. If you fail to do so, the mission will of course fail. The good thing about these missions though is that they're generally not too difficult, and the targets that spawn are generally very few. And also kind of squishy. If you're ready to step it up in space combat though, the Claim Jumper missions might be for you. These missions are the most challenging missions right now in the game versus NPCs. They're going to pitch you up against a bunch of turrets that you have to destroy, and then a bunch of prospectors that are going to come around and try to basically swarm and kill you. If you're a starter ship, this can be quite challenging, and that's why I think you should wait on this unless you're more confident in your abilities. I completed this mission without a scratch on me in a starter alpha that was upgraded. The way you want to run these is to focus down the turret markers first. Once you kill all of them and complete the mission, then kill all the prospectors, because if you kill the prospectors before then, you won't be getting the CDF mission that I told you to take earlier's credit. That's around 500 to 1,000 UEC per ship. So if you do it the right way, you could be walking away with over 20,000 AUEC for this mission. One level beyond that is bounty hunting, and in this video I can only really go briefly into it. I'm going to create a dedicated video for bounty hunting in the future for those of you guys interested in this. But the gist of it is that every area of the map, every jurisdiction has its own test contract for bounty hunters that you have to pass first before you get on the bounty hunter rolls. Once you pass that jurisdiction's approval for bounty hunting, you'll be given contracts only in that area. And some of those contracts won't be NPCs. They'll be real players, and that's why this can be so difficult. The way you can tell the difference between an NPC and a player on the bounty hunting contract list is to look next to their name. If they have a CS1 through CS5, that's going to be an NPC. However, if it just says bounty issued and then a name, that's a real player. I would only recommend you take real player contracts when you are extremely proficient with your ship, because you never know what you're going to run into. It could be one player or several players in a really big ship. So you never know if you're going to come out on top, but the satisfaction you get from killing a bounty is pretty amazing. Now let's step into a little bit more dangerous and more intense. Look at the personal tab. Now these missions you see here pay a lot of money, but the cost is high. In Star Citizen, there's something called Virtue, and it's a hidden stat that you won't see anywhere on any page inside the game.
The devil's in the details, I believe. Read them well.
And Clovis Darneely here is right. If you don't pay attention to these personal tab missions, they're going to send you down a rabbit hole that you might not be able to get out of. If you take one of these gray to black market missions, what's going to happen is that you're going to lose virtue in the verse, which means that your reputation with other mission givers is going to be lessened, and thus things like bounty hunting will no longer be accessible to you. This stat stays with you unless you either go to prison or redeem yourself through killing bad guys. And while some more experienced players might find this fun, for a new player it might be a nightmare because you'll constantly be under threat of attack by player bounty hunters and being sent to prison. Oh, you didn't know that that's where the players were going that you were bounty hunting? Yeah, you sent them here. Now, for some, being sent to prison won't be that bad. It's actually part of the gameplay experience for criminals. This is going to be a place to meet contacts and to basically team up with other criminals once you get out. Living with low virtue also might mean that you're only able to land at certain locations like Grim Hex and Levski, so that's another thing you might want to consider before taking up some black market missions. Once you're more experienced though, I'd say have at it if you really want to be the bad guy. The missions do pay really well, and they can be a lot of fun. Being a criminal will always give you some PvP because you're always going to be on the bounty hunters list, and of course the missions that you get as a criminal will always be a little bit violent. I found though that if you know what to do as good guy, you're always going to be able to make just as much money. It just might be a little bit more difficult. For example, I did this 890 jump raid mission on my own. That's 1v20 essentially. It is challenging and you might die, but if you get out on top, you're gonna come out with a lot of cash on your own. For some of you who've watched my starter video, you may now be wondering why I haven't mentioned trading yet. Well, yes, it's still valid to pick up a freelancer and do some small trading like I recommended in that video. I think right now the better option is actually to go with a prospector and try to mine some Quantanium, which is new as of 3.9. Trading is still valid though, it does still yield a lot of money, but it requires an entire video probably to explain where you should go and what you should trade, and it can change from patch to patch. So I'm going to leave it with recommending that you first work your way towards a prospector, whether it's renting it first or buying it after saving up. Because believe it or not, the prospector can make you between 100 to 200,000 AUEC per hour, getting you that much closer to your first in-game ship purchase after the prospector. So there you guys have it. Now you should know how to make some money in Star Citizen, understanding how to take missions, and of course what those missions mean. If you guys have any other questions, you can head on over to my Twitch channel again in the description below where you can ask me questions live. You can also join my community called Armco, one that I share between two other YouTubers, Wasted Space and Captain Shack, where you can ask more questions about Star Citizen and get help. I'm also very interactive, and that's how I invite people to my streams when I stream on my streaming days. So I hope to see you guys there. I've been Morphologist. I'll see you in the next video.